the Porsche Panamera Turbo S. This is our second Panamera video, but this Panamera is for a different client. This is for the man or woman who pays someone else to read their numbers. The full gold bullion experience, because the one we're driving comes in at $199,000. This is also the fastest variant of the Panamera that is not a hybrid. This will do 0 to 60 in sub 3 seconds, reliably, and hit 100 miles an hour in under 8. So in this video, we're gonna walk you through what makes the Panamera Turbo S special, walk you through the vast amount of engineering that goes into this drivetrain, give you a very brief overview of the cabin because we've already covered it, and then take this thing for a drive. So enjoy. Inside the Panamera Turbo S, the first thing I'm going to talk about, just like I did in the past, is the perception of luxury in this cabin. It's a hard thing to show on camera, but there's this sense that the whole car was literally carved out of a single piece of marble. There's such rigidity to this cabin that stops most of the NVH from being translated into this. The noise floor is incredibly low, and in a car that you're going to be doing an unspecified speed down the highway in, that's something you might want in a luxury car experience. On top of that, all of the switchgear, everything you interact with, the touch points, feels extremely expensive, whether it be the carbon inlays in the door, the way the leather was pulled over the door cards, the door handle, the primary switchgear for the HVAC system and infotainment system, the steering wheel or the seats. They all feel exactly like they should, and that is expensive. The seats in this car are still tremendous, though just like in the other Panamera, everything you could probably expect in a car at this price point is still a la carte. So massaging seats, a really high-end audio system, all of that stuff you're paying extra money for. On top of that, the safety suite and the premium package and all that other fun stuff, you still have to pay even more money for. And this is something that should be standard on a car that is this expensive, but nevertheless, that's something you come to expect with Porsche products. When it comes to the rear seat in this car, they're not the best for full-size adults. However, this car does come in 3 different body styles. You can get this in the regular hatch form, the regular Panamera, the executive Panamera, which is a long wheelbase hatch, or you can get this as a wagon, which is the Sport Turismo. The hatch space in this car is excellent. It makes this far more usable than a regular sedan. It puts it in line with something like a GTI or a regular hatchback or small CUV, which is a thing I really appreciate about this. So with that said, let's head into the shop and put this thing up on the lift. Oh boy, Mark, underneath a Panamera Turbo S.
Again?
Again! And I don't want to bore everyone to death, so if you want to learn everything there is to learn about this car from a suspension perspective, go watch the other video. But quick brief overview, or a brief overview on this. It's still on the same platform, which means this platform is shared with things like Bentleys. That's why it feels so rigid. It has aluminum front and rear subframes, all aluminum suspension components. It is double wishbone in the front, and it is a multi-link rear. This still also has the 4D suspension technology, which means PDCC, adaptive dampers, rear steer, Porsche torque vectoring rear diff,
3-chamber air ride,
and active dampers. So it's very complicated, and it's why this car is so unbelievably capable on the road, rides well, fast like a supercar around a track. This thing is ballistically fast for how heavy it is, and well, it's one of the reasons why this car is so impressive.
So what's different about this than the one we just spent 16 hours on, Jack?
It's got a V8, Mark.
And it looks like it's got some winter tires on there. How's that gonna work?
Well, Mark, it will lead to some sideways in a good way. Oh, and sorry, before I get into the V8, we also have brakes, real brakes. 10-piston carbon ceramics.
These are the biggest brakes I've ever seen. They are Brembo designed. Well, Porsche collaborated with Brembo on them, and they should last the life of the car, and considering most Porsche owners probably never put more than 50, 60,000 miles on there, you should be getting an insanely long life out of these. There's so much thermal capacity. They are so unbelievably overkill, but also unbelievably incredible at the same time.
Look at these calipers and look at this, like the rotor design. If you are coming from an economy car, like something with 17s or even 18s, this is probably bigger than your whole wheel and tire setup.
Yeah, absolutely.
But big story, V8s. twin turbo. It is a modular design, so it can accept a lower output in something like the GTS trim, or it can accept a hybrid version of this with the Turbo S hybrid, which adds a motor generator between the gearbox and the engine. In this car's case, this twin turbo, which is a hot V, makes 620 horsepower, which if you're coming from a Hellcat doesn't sound like a lot, but this car will obliterate your Hellcat because it's Porsche horsepower, which means it's probably highly underrated, because this car, when independently tested, did 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds and the quarter mile in 10.8 at 127 miles an hour. This car is basically 5,000 pounds.
And that power is sent to all four wheels.
Yes.
It's a rear-wheel drive architecture first, but you have the ability, because of the Porsche torque vectoring, the way that power comes down is the same every time. And I joked around about the winter tires, and this has zero traction issues getting off the line. I mean, you could do a launch like 50 times back to back, and it's the same every time. You're not wasting any of this engine power spinning tires.
Yeah, and this goes through a PDK like you were expecting. It's an 8-speed PDK. It's not a torque converted unit. The gear shifts are seamless. They don't upset the car. The gearbox is designed to have maximum efficiency, so there's a minimal amount of powertrain loss. They did prioritize reliability and cooling like you were expecting. Look at the immense amount of data and engineering they're going to give you through these presentations we're providing. But I think we've bored the audience enough with this car, Mark.
I want to feel V8 power. This is what I've been looking forward to in a Porsche product. I can't wait to see what it's like just launching this thing.
Yeah, it's your turn to scare me, Mark.
All right. Jack, I spent $200,000 on a Panamera because I want a V8 experience.
Show me, Mark.
Let me turn down the fan here. I want to hear some engines.
Holy fuck.
10 pistons, bro, and snow tires. Cool. This thing is stupid fast. It's like instantaneously puts a smile on your face because it's so stupid, but I will say it is extraordinarily smooth. There is like no drama from this thing. It just pulls, and you could go out and go on the highway and go 198 miles an hour and not even bat an eye at that.
It's an engineering feat, just like the other Panamera. And at least in this one, you have basically an atomic bomb for an engine.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's just enough movement in the car with the all-wheel drive setup where the back moves around a little bit. And I mean, obviously, again, I have to reiterate that this car does not feel like it would on real tires. With the snows, there's a lot more slop and give.
Which honestly makes it like probably 30% more fun.
It is, because these cars are just like zero drama handling-wise, and it just gives you a little bit of squirreliness that you wouldn't have otherwise. But we've talked about this in the previous Panamera video, and this car is just even more of it. It truly is a vault. It is so solid feeling, and I ask anybody that is in the cars to get behind the wheel of these or just ride in one at any point, whether you want one or not, just to feel it, because it's definitely an experience in that way. This is at a high level of engineering, performance, design.
You're just paying out the nose for it.
You're just paying up the ass. I mean, you're paying $200,000 here, but you're getting something that is a literal rocket ship.
Textbook suspension tuning. Really soft, great at high speeds. You can firm it up to get a little bit more body control. When you are doing 190 odd miles an hour, it literally feels like you could probably get out and walk.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
No, it's crazy. Like I didn't really drive this thing hard, and then just for the video part, I'm driving it like a dick, and then I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, I can't believe I could just sit here, one hand, have my blueberry smoothie, and just drive like over 150 miles an hour, and you don't even notice it.
My one argument against this, and this is coming from Johnny Porsche, is at least in the United States, the capabilities of this car are lost on 99.99% of people.
Jack, this is completely necessary. But that's what these cars are. I don't care what brand it is, once you get into this extreme price tag, this extreme, like, it's almost like a vanity product.
Yeah, pretty much.
You don't need this, but you can afford to have something like this.
And if you want the best, this is what you're buying.
And once you get behind the wheel of stuff like this, it's so hard to go back because it is so capable in every single way. And, I think that's where I'm going to leave it, Jack.
What are the inputs like? Obviously, the steering and suspension tuning is very similar to the last Panamera we did a video on.
Yeah, it's
But
all,
what about the brakes?
So that would be the only thing that I would say is the 10 pistons in here, which look ridiculous. It's almost funny when you see them from the outside. But crawling, like just regular driving when you're kind of stop and go, they are in an on and off switch. They're far too grippy for my taste. I'm like always jamming on them too hard. But when you start driving it, this thing fast, like you get some pace into it and you slam on the brakes, it actually changes a little bit. It requires a little bit more progressive brake pedal push with your foot to get it to stop, and I really love the way the pedal feels once you're going, but I hate it when you're just crawling.
Yeah, honestly, I know you're kind of hit or miss in some of the Porsche brakes, but it is nice to see at least when you're driving this car hard, it isn't a complete on and off switch. And if you are doing the speeds that this car is capable of, you want a pedal that gives you a level of confidence and feel versus just a switch that does nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
the brakes are incredible on this car. I mean, this isn't like, I think, what was the car I had a complaint about, the GT4 brakes? I really didn't like the steel or the cast iron brakes on those. But, when you get to this level, it's just the most extreme street car brakes in the world, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
But anyway, anything else you want to say before the final thoughts?
Not really. I mean, this 4-liter, we beat it to death in the shop, but this 4-liter twin turbo, which you can get variants in other Audi or Porsche products, is amazing. It may not have the most character, but the fact that this car will pull kind of like a naturally aspirated car all the way to redline is mind-blowing. And then when you're driving on a back road or on the highway and you want it to be quiet, it's utterly silent.
Amazing brakes, best brakes, one of the best engines, one of the best dual clutch or automated manual transmissions, one of the best ride qualities, one of the best isolations of any car. I guess, Jack, there's not much else to say.
So let's get into the final thoughts then, Mark.
All right.
Final thoughts on the Porsche Panamera Turbo S. This is a car for the John Rich crowd, and it is far more expensive than many of its other German competitors like the M5, E63, or RS6, at least more of its traditional competitors. But unlike those cars, Porsche has one of the best tuned set of electromechanical systems, whether it be its PDCC, its torque vectoring, its all-wheel drive system. Porsche does a very good job integrating these systems to lead it to have a more natural driving experience, and they have not compromised on the ride quality. This car is a true Jekyll and Hyde Autobahn missile. You can sit at 190 miles an hour and have a true luxury car experience, or you can tear up a back road. Well, what are its cons? Porsche doesn't believe in value. We talk about this all the time. A lot of the things that you're paying for should not be a la carte. And if you are the crowd who wants to buy something like this, you may be looking for something a little bit more flashy than the Porsche Panamera. Honestly, most people would have no idea this car was $200,000. But with that said, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.